questions and think about things, and how do we discover what is scientific temper and learn about it. So that was really nice. And then in the last half of the day, we discussed why the A is missing in STEM, where is arts and what it means. And so some of the little bits that came out of that conversation was that we had one convert who felt that STEM and STEAM should be different, but
and he was a convert on the panel.
On the panel, so that was amazing. And it meant that it's important to have that multidisciplinary perspective when you're looking at problem solving, and collaborating from those aspects makes a good solution. So I think that's where we concluded on. But today I think the conversation was a little bit more around implementation, things that we can take back to our spaces and how we can do that better. So talking a little bit about best practices, how we can do things actually when we go back from here. So I think with that context, I'm going to get started. But I would love to, Mukesh, would you like to introduce yourself? And actually, we can all do a round of introduction because there's some new people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Mukesh Sharma. I am the founder, CEO of Prometheus School.
No, we don't need.
A school that I started in 2019, just before COVID. Before that, I'm actually a first generation tech entrepreneur. Yes. I used to run a IT company in software testing services. Took an exit and then decided to just do something for the social cause, which is, instead of complaining that our education system is not right, why are they teaching what they are teaching in school, how does it help in real life, I thought of starting Prometheus School. And at Prometheus School, our goal, we've got 3 goals. One is create entrepreneurs. Create that platform at Prometheus School where children are encouraged to be problem solvers, where children are challenged with the problems and have them come up with solutions, right? Introduce them with different types of entrepreneurs. We bring entrepreneurs from industry. And then the second one is, India is largest in population. Today, if you see, India is 64th in rank when it comes to the medals tally in Olympics. Where is Pakistan? Probably 50 something. Why is that? Why is India not in top 3? We all are responsible for it. We want our children to do what we want them to do, even though we say that we've given them freedom, we are supporting them in whatever that they want to be. But if a child is good in a particular sport, our education system does not support the child. Yeah. After a particular grade 6, 7th, 8th, teachers, they are focused on my grades, my result is going to be impacted. How's child going to take care of both academics and sports? So we have to have child spend 8 to 9 hours playing that particular sport, and then have education support through the school for 2 to 3 hours so that the child can catch up with the academics as well. That's something that we are doing at that is something that we are doing at Prometheus School. In fact, I'm very happy to tell you that at Prometheus School in just last 4 years, we've had somebody from our academy, Prometheus Sports Academy, represent India in table tennis in Olympics. And the girl's name is Archana Kamath. She didn't study at Prometheus School, but she trained at our Prometheus Sports Academy for 2 years. The sports academies that we've built are Olympic level. So a student who wants to pursue badminton, table tennis, swimming, shooting, we've got world-class facilities which are no less than Olympic facilities. So second goal was getting India in top 3. What is it that I can do in terms of contributing to the nation, in terms of changing mindset of the parents, in terms of encouraging children who are good in sport to continue working towards that sport. They may not become the champion, but then they may be able to create champions. And then the third one being, how do we make
the second room? You can come here. Sorry.
And the third one being, how do we make teaching a sought after profession?
Sure.
Right? I think the key to that is pay them well. You will have direct recruitment from colleges, from IITians, IIT, Lucknow and all. They would come and join you, but give them good money. So that is something, if we are able to accomplish first goal of Prometheus School, which is creating entrepreneurs, I'm sure. Hi, Raman. How are you? I'm sure we will be able to start giving back to the teachers, right? I mean, I would like to encourage students graduating from school to consider taking teaching as a profession, then to and parents to be encouraging their child to become a teacher, then to become an engineer and work for Microsoft or Google, right? So with those three goals, I started Prometheus School. 2 years were in COVID, but still we are around 900 students. We are an IB.
That culture and mindset at your spaces as well, right? So we'll look into that. So maybe I'll start with Stephen quickly. Stephen, tell us a little bit about what's been happening at JBCN. I know you've just joined, but of course you have a track record of many years of doing this. So how are you doing it at closely?
So I'm very lucky at JBCN Oshiwara. We are a phenomenal academic performing school, and we do the IB program. That's what we predominantly follow, and we also run IGCSEs. What we're actually most known for in the city of Mumbai is we have one of the best arts, music and performing arts programs of any school in the city, and anybody who's heard of JBCN Oshiwara, not just JBCN in particular, but Oshiwara branch, we're particularly noted for that. And what I've noticed in my time there, and I've only been there 6 months, is how we incorporate that into the rest of the school and to do cross-disciplinary learning through other subjects. And that our teachers are willing to pitch in and plan together and work together, and that culture has already been established. So we're taking what is a relative strength and we're bringing it into our underdeveloped and underutilized areas. And I'm very, very excited to walk into a school like that that's already forward-thinking and already has that vision, because as I spoke about yesterday, sometimes when you come in as a principal and you want to give people free rein and trust and allow them to grow and develop, if they haven't had that before or don't have that right mindset, it's very difficult to establish without much time, much training, much professional development, because they're used to sort of like the sort of micromanagement and like you just working your focused area, and it's as simple as that. And my aim is to continue to grow and develop this and make sure that every section is performing as high as that section of my school is. My Group 6 section for the DP is absolutely phenomenal. And I've got to bring that through the rest of the school now. And in terms of how we're implementing it, I sort of touched on this yesterday. We do a lot of peer observations, but particularly with high school teachers or 10, 11, 12 teachers in those grades, going in, watching things as low as kindergarten, seeing how the children learn and they grow and they develop, and the questions that they ask, and how we shouldn't stifle their inquisitivity, how they approach learning, how they think about learning, because there comes a time in education where we sort of bring them to this rote learning because we're heading towards an examination. And I hate that we live and work in that system. It's one of those inevitabilities that we have to face whether we like it or not. But they have, my pre-primary, my primary, they seem to act with a lot more freedom and inspiration than my secondary section does in some ways because of the overarching. But as I said, I have this great Group 6, which I'm trying to filter through and make that happen in the rest of the school. So that's what I've seen in my 6 months there. Not very much, because I haven't had time to do a lot.
But great, those are 2 points. So peer observation, collaboration between teachers.
Correct.
That's great. So 2 points. Sanjay, how about you? Do you want to give us some examples of, how you are...
Since the stories come, the examples come through stories.
Yeah,
so
sure.
There's a small story, but I've been holding since yesterday.
Yes.
And I have to speak today.
Yes, new content
I
for
guess
today.
everybody in the room, 1870, what do you think the scenario of education was in a small town in Rajasthan? That's what they put. How many schools, how many institutions would you think? What chunk of the city must be given? This is a question with which I start, but I don't really want to dwell too much on that. I'll just sum it up by saying that after independence, 1/3 of the city land was given for education institutions. 1870 is when they started the first girls' school, all girls' school. So that's the backdrop against which I have done my 15 years. You meet anybody they are 3 generations old, 4 generations old, 5 generations old into teaching. And if you tell them STEM, they look at you, they say, we've got branches, we've got banyan trees, we've got roots, what are you talking about? And that's what I said yesterday when I said that probably the journey of STEM has been that there was one time in ashrams in India and even in Europe where you had one master to whose house people would go and study all the subjects, to the time that we became super specialized somewhere after Second World War. And then all these terminologies that you see took root. In 70s they came to India. And now I think after analyzing each one of them separately, we are bringing it all together and gradually making STEAM, STEM, stream. So I think it has been an explosion and an implosion that's been happening. What I have seen in a tier 3 city, I won't even call it tier 2 city, is employability. Kids look for that. And through STEAM, if you give it to them, then they find a purpose to education. If you talk general education, they're not interested. They're sucked up by the coaching industry, and that's where they die. And they literally die in places like Kota. The question, what happens after 12th? Because he said that after 10th, they get sucked into competitive exams. It was a question thrown at me by one Mr. Chetan Bhagat in an interview. And he said, can you prove to me that you are really doing these things that you say, that we have a big art school, which is not just art, it has got technology imprinted in it. So what we do, one of the examples I'll give you is, because we said we give one of the takeaways, when we do printing, we teach them how to print with blocks, transfers, if you see all the transfer styles that you see, and then we bring them to 3D technology. So they're not just creating art, they're learning how humans through the ages have printed. Now you can print on any material, you just need the technique for it, and then follows all the diverse ways. We've got people from Shantiniketan come down and teach their way of doing it. You've got Japs come and teach their kimono styles, and then you keep expanding. You go to fabric, from paper you go to fabric, from fabric you move on to 3D printing. So I think art integration that way is something that we have successfully done. I can say that one area, rest we are experimenting, but there we have been able to, in the last 10 years, very consciously give our largest space in the school to art and design. And in the last 6 years, I've got entrepreneurs who've gone out of school and started their own startups. So I think that I resonate that if I'm not giving them something that leads directly to their entrepreneurial skills, I think it would not be taking. And STEM, or you call it STEAM or whatever, is going to work only and only when you allow a kid to tinker with whatever material is their hand. I mean, there was a company from which we took a robot who could walk, talk and learn. It was enabled. Hari was running a company in Bangalore, if anybody's heard of the guy. He was somebody who had contributed towards your Alexa. He created that was taken up later as Alexa. I'm talking about that man. He's always been at the end of the envelope. They placed their robo at the airport for assistance at Bangalore for a while.
Yeah.
So we took that, and next year the cost went too high for a charitable organization like us. So the kids got offended. They said, if you're removing this, allow us to do something which if is not professionally as good, is at least half as good. And believe me, those kids did it. It was just their feeling bad about that lab of theirs, going robotics lab, that they created a STEM which today can do at least half of that. So those are the live examples that I can share with you. In a tier 2 city with a tier 3 mentality, limited resources, charitable foundation, nothing comes in the way.
So what I'm hearing is agency and ownership, right,
Yeah.
of the space,
Absolutely.
and the freedom to also think and not be restricted fully, right? So some of those things for sure. I'll go to Naman, then Balaji, and then we'll come back to Mukesh on that.
Apologies for my tardiness. I was a little late. Got caught up with some coffee and delicious cookies. But I guess we're discussing how to implement
Yes, how to
STEM
implement, that's right.
So this was one of my first visits to Mewar College Ajmer. We are collaborating with them. So as part of my initial learning, I was visiting, and there was a very positive remark made by the headmaster there. Because we went to a classroom and I said, that's a pretty nice classroom you have here. And he said, well, you're wrong, because this is not a classroom, this campus is the classroom. And we use everything in and around the campus to try and teach our students. So I thought I got to, typically amongst educators, we try to one-up each other. I thought, okay, I don't have a campus as large as Mewar. What can I do? I have a city which is larger than Ajmer, right? So we started thinking about our school as just a meeting place for all the learning we can acquire and accrue within our city. So the bounds of the classroom went from the campus to the entire city. And now what we do is we have separate teams, like we'll take one enthusiastic teacher from SST department, somebody from languages, somebody from science and maths, computer science teacher. We form a scouting team. They also pick one student with them. And they go explore new places. Some exhibit which is happening in the city, some artist is doing it, there's some talk show happening. So they go visit these spaces as scouting parties. They come back, if we like it, you have to be quick and agile, right? So if they come back, this is brilliant, I think we should do this for all the students. So next day school is called off, school mein bache aate hain, fill up buses, take them to that place, right? And in the meantime, we send the teachers also, then to satisfy the parents and answer those questions, you can always sell a narrative how it connects to your formal education. I feel like we worry too much about that. We are storytellers. We can always build that narrative. आप मेरे को कुछ भी बोलो कि चश्मे की मैन्युफैक्चरिंग से आप हिस्ट्री कैसे पढ़ा सकते हो, मैं पढ़ा सकता हूँ. It's about selling the narrative. You have to be convinced and you can satisfy most people with that. So we don't worry about that, like I said yesterday also, which was taken quite controversially. But so that is one thing. Like you have to explore, you have to think beyond the bounds of your school. You need to create space which can be physical space for people to get together and discuss these things. It has to be mental space for teachers to think about, what more can they do outside of the textbooks. And there has to be space in your calendar, in your timetable, which is most important. Most schools don't have that yet. You have to take a conscious decision that I'm going to put some spotlight on this, and for that I need to create a space for students to meet, for teachers to get together. So we have this thing which was inspired by something SMS used to do 30 years back. It's called the TRC, right? Teachers Resource Center. So teachers from different groups, they get together and we ensure that they are not scheduled any tasks within that block of 1.5 hours. They get together, they discuss, the scouting party reports back, and they sort of, they're able to connect the dots and, sort of build takeaways from that one visit. So for example, our kids had visited the Nargad fort, right? So you have the world's Jaigarh fort, Jaiwan, the largest cannon in the world. Scouting party went, driven by the SST department, history and of Rajputana and whatnot, came back. फिर पता चला वहाँ पे 2 बच्चे थे, they were curious about how the barrel of the cannon was drilled. So they asked the tour guide, he showed them the drilling room which had large massive gears. Now gear systems are not part of the school curriculum in any board. But children were curious about it, so we connected it. फिर उसको हमने gear ratios कैसे होते हैं, number of teeth, diameter, and how these things are proportional, and how do you multiply torque, and how do you multiply speed. Taught them everything, connected it somewhat to their physics and maths lessons, and they loved it. We have like 7-8 different cannon models lying around in our school which nobody asked for, because they got together and built these things. Now finally you need somebody who's passionate and enthusiastic about STEM development at school. So if it's the principal, lucky you. But if it's not, you got to hire somebody and give them some freedom and some agency to operate and drive these things. So I happen to take keen interest in this, so it's easier in my school, but even I can't be there at all times, so we did hire somebody. There was this brilliant STEM curriculum seller. They came, we do workshops and boot camps with all the legacy schools in the country. मेरे को उस बंदे से बात करके बड़ा अच्छा लगा. He seemed like an enthusiastic educator. मैंने कहा सर आपकी किट नहीं चाहिए, whatever the cost of your kits I'll pay you, but you come for 2 days every month and talk to my teachers and students. And we've been doing that for 15 months now with great results. So I think we don't need to spend on resources, we need to spend on people, we need to identify the right people, we need to give them agency, and you need to take chances. Sir said a beautiful thing, experiment. We are experimenting. I'm not saying this is the best way, it's working for us so far, but you have to continue experimenting. And part of STEM is about building that culture of experimenting, coming back, reflecting. If it's working, expand upon it. If it's not, you revisit. You try something new the next day. So I think it is a top-down approach, and I would encourage more and more principals and heads of schools to explore this. In my experience, and it's anecdotal at best, I found most principals don't come from an engineering background, right? And that's the limiting factor. कल discussion हो रहा था arts पे. Because I come from an engineering background, I think of arts as fine arts, and I was told that arts is humanities and engineering. Same thing with principals. They don't understand the creativity, the ingenuity, and the critical thinking that goes into engineering. They think engineering is IIT में admission, or just memorizing science equations and math formulae. It's not. So get an engineer involved in your school, and you will see STEM blooming. You need the right people. Computer science engineer होंगे तो आपका computer science का जो subject है, whether you're doing digital literacy, whether you're doing computational thinking, it'll flourish. So for STEM, I think we do a fairly good job of science, maths, technology, and engineering is something which is missing. And finally, we also ensure that all of our subjects starting from grade 1 have this mindset of inquiry and curiosity. So minimum 25% up to 75% of each subject, whether it is English or math or French or whatever, has to be in an experiential manner, has to be in a lab space. So people start tinkering around that subject and they come up with new ideas. So, I mean, it's easier for us again, but you all have say 5 periods for maths, you have to dedicate just 1 to a math lab. Right? CBSE को दिखाने के लिए हमने math lab बना रखी है, which serves as a classroom. But I think we can start utilizing those spaces now. So, दिमाग में एक बार ठान ली है तो हो जाएगा. थोड़ा सा मत घबराइए कि पेरेंट्स को क्या दिखाना है, क्या सिखाना है. People have been, my own principal asked me something and I'll conclude with that remark. He said, but 9th-10th में क्या होगा? Will you continue doing this? मैंने कहा, let's answer the question कि life में क्या होगा? 9th-10th की क्यों चिंता करनी है? There is a whole, 80 years of life, hopefully beyond 9th and 10th. So once we pose that question to parents, they also worry कि आप class work notebook में कुछ नहीं कराते. We are having a discussion, we are having a good time. Who has time to write notes? It's already written in the book. आपको लिखवाना है, आप घर पे लिखवाना. But they say 9-10 में क्या होगा, boards में क्या होगा, and then I start asking them this, कि life में क्या होगा, and then they realize that they're not really thinking for their child. They're thinking about the journey that child takes academically in terms of the degrees and qualifications they acquire, rather than the learning they acquire. So that's.
So should we finish the school round and then Balaji?
I'll do that just by assuring Naman I come from humanities background.
Yes.
And the last project I've done is cut a section of a working automobile engine, for which I had to take help of a parent. We went to the industrial area and he said it require different dimensions, because somewhere you cut it close, somewhere far, to preserve the pistons. And today kids know what is the firing order of an engine.
Yeah.
Because these are going out very fast. I worry that in next 10 odd years, if you tell somebody that there's an internal combustion engine under a hood, they would ask what, because they really, it's all going to go, the engines are going to go, and which is, the steam engine was what brought in the industrial revolution. So what are we going to do about it? And these kids, they take the car, their dad's car, they press the accelerator, they don't know what's under it. So now they know that yes, there are pistons which are driven by some combustion happening, and there is some movement happening of those cam rods, and they are part of that whole project, because there was a company that used to give that. If you see, many schools you would have seen installed those suspensions of cars and those differentials. They used to stop there. We took that challenge a little, because we were talking in a car, we were talking about these, how do you get a modern machine without an engine? So it's all driven by the shaft. You have battery, lithium battery giving power, and that's it. What will happen to the engines? What will happen to the gears? So that was a thought in a classroom discussion. We took an old Ambassador, this petrol engine developed by a company called Austin, and we cut it open, and it takes the place of pride in my art school.
That's awesome.
So humanities, we appreciate engineering.
Before I go to Balaji, I wanted to just ask Mukesh as well. Mukesh, tell us a little bit about Prometheus as well, and what some tips from your end as to how you create a mindset and space of exploration.
Sure. So I come from a technology background, and before starting Prometheus School, I used to run a technology company. So at Prometheus School, there's a lot of technology integration. At Prometheus School, our innovative learning approaches aren't just about teaching students science, technology, engineering, and math. They are more than that. They are about preparing them for future by equipping them with skills that they are going to require to be successful in any field that they choose to pursue, fields that we aren't even aware of as of today. We've got right from lower primary to 12th grade, there are different meaningful learning spaces that we've created. When it comes to visual art, Naman has visited our school once. We've got visual art studio that when you enter the space, it speaks. And children are engaged in visual art. We've got Lego robotics for primary school. Lego robotics allows our grade 1 onwards students to do programming. They are not writing Python or Perl or C programming. They are doing block-based programming. It's a costly affair, but for an IB school, something that we could afford. I said we are going to have the best, right? It allows children to think creatively. It allows children to come together and collaborate, work in a team, and come up with a solution for, let's say, we gave them this project on you have to grade 1 and 2. You have to work on traffic light, right? And whenever you see red light, your robot that is moving has to stop, and it is car, right? Yeah, so they were able to do the programming and bell and whatnot. So that helps children in acquiring the skills that are needed, both programming as well as in integration with technology. Then we've got a spatial design thinking lab, which is available for 6th grade onwards. Now, design thinking lab also has machines like laser cutting machine. Anandji was, he was vocal about these labs in school, not giving students the right exposure, have the child go and do the work with the carpenter. I think, again, there are choices, right? I mean, I can go in bus from here to point A to point B, and I can choose to go in work if I can afford one, right? So these are the choices that students and parents and everybody makes. But if children know how this work is done, we are engaging them in creating projects that require, let's say, some integration with technology, forward thinking. They are coming up with projects like the greenhouse, projects like automatically light will go off as sun comes out, right? So they're using sensor, they're building these houses or whatever models using our design thinking workshop. So for secondary students, we've also got advanced Lego robotics lab, wherein children are working on technology projects, including, let's say, a drone. That one of our students, they didn't build it, but they used the drone to do a project. They've built 360-degree camera that would identify something and send a message, right? There are a lot of technology projects that our students are doing, which are basically towards solving a problem that they see within the campus. For example, one of the projects that our students worked on was we recently introduced fee for food. So lunch, if you are having at school, you have to pay. Otherwise, you can bring from home. How do you take care of the students? How do you kind of implement it? Students have 30 minutes to go for lunch. So our students worked with the technology team, obviously some developers, and came up with a solution that allowed students' card to become kind of a enabler, right? So not QR code, it was more of a Bluetooth enabled card which sends a message to the app, and there's a data that it gets exchanged. Yeah. So that is the kind of work that we are doing at Prometheus School. Our goal is to be able to create entrepreneurs, and I can tell you that within the first 2 years, we've had a student who built a board game and made it commercial. There are a number of ideas that come. I mean, it's basically the culture that we've created at Prometheus School, wherein students of primary school to secondary school, they are coming up with ideas. They are coming up and presenting those ideas to me with an intent of being able to raise funds. So that's something that we are doing at Prometheus.
Nice. So just on that, Balaji, I would like to pass it on to you. Now you, as part of your organization, are integrating with schools to add that scientific temper, right? So tell us a little bit more about like how's that going and what are the tips that you're giving to schools or vice versa you're getting feedback on?
Sure.
Like, and where is it you see the gap as well?
Happy to do that. I think a little bit of a background. The last 10 years, I've been personally obsessing about the problem or the challenge that children, regardless of economic background, are born at the level of a creative genius. How many of you have watched Sir Ken Robinson's TED Talk?
Yeah.
So you know this. I'm preaching to the choir here, right? So, but the problem is, by the time you're already in grade 1, 2, 3, and structured education sets in, the child's natural curiosity, the ability to be creative, somehow, as an education system, including parents, society, teachers, we make the child forget it. Okay, and there is a huge amount of loss of potential by the time children are in middle school itself, and there is data that shows that. So I mean that is when we had our sorry.
That's heart-wrenching actually to understand that.
Absolutely.
And know that you are doing the damage.
Yeah, we are doing the damage, right? I mean, and so this is the one problem I've been obsessing with since we had Pooja and I had our first child, and all our ventures have been around, or attempts have been around to solve this problem. So this is what drives me every day. This gap should not be there. Okay, and initially we started off with STEM activities. We worked with the Singapore Science Center. We had a chance to learn from some of the best, Scratch Lab, MIT, Lego Foundation, Pillow, etc. And what we realized through the journey is that all that is good, and there are so many people doing it, and that's very important. We have to do it. But the critical gap really is, when a child is asking a question, the child starts wondering about the world right from kindergarten. I mean, by the time they can start talking about things. Why is the sky blue? Why doesn't the tennis ball bounce on a bed? Why do I hear sound? So many questions. But we don't really seriously answer or help the child answer this till the time they're like somewhere in middle school. We postpone that. Right? When a child's natural curiosity, yesterday we talked about STEM skills not being STEM stream, really distilling down to it's that natural curiosity of the child. And how do you keep that alive? That's what STEM stream is all about. We basically say, बच्चा science अभी नहीं पढ़ो, वो 6th standard में मैं समझाता हूँ, तब तक question hold करना. Literally, that's what society is telling the child. Okay? And so that's what has led us to saying, the most critical gap. The beautiful thing is the lowest hanging fruit, but the most critical gap is the S in STEM. We think science. Science is the understanding of the world around us, right? And science is there in textbooks. Teachers know science. Teachers teach science. So our focus is how do we help them? If we can help them teach science, or in a way in which it simulates curiosity, it simulates inquiry. The teacher becomes a facilitator, and all the great things that all the speakers here are implementing in their schools. If every teacher can be that, when the child is asking those questions in the classroom, then you're doing it, many times a year, right? And then slowly that behavior starts becoming culture. Maybe we'll reduce the gap, of loss of this creative genius potential by the time they are there, ready to take on those robotics and STEM and all of the stuff, the cool stuff that comes, and make even more wonderful stuff from it. So that's been the thesis. So we're working with around 6 or 7 schools in India first year. So we said, let's go deep and understand what's happening. And our starting point, we are working with schools across the board. We have a CBSE, a school in Bhopal, school in Bangalore, IB school. So we decided to kind of spread, and just understand. We're learning, right? We're scientists. We're learning every day, and it's amazing. I mean, the first thing we have learned is that children are ready. Okay, children want to learn with their hands. Children are ready. I mean, there's a school in Pune. I was in the classroom when the activity is happening. This is after lunch, grade 1. Okay, all the kids are waiting for mom or dad to come and pick them up. CBSE school, 1/3 of the batch is RTE kids. Okay, and we're sitting there. It's a 2-block period. It's like 40, 80 minutes non-stop. The teacher and I both are facilitating because the kids were so engaged. After the parents are waiting outside, kids don't want to go back home. Yeah, and this teacher tells me, typically by the time a second block आता है, बच्चे तो सोना शुरू कर देते हैं literally. And this is the first time I've seen 100% of the kids engaged. And then we spoke to the kids after that, you know, and then asked them to tell us what they learned, what they picked up, you know, how do they like it. And the one thing is they are ready. And this is an easy win for everyone, right? And the beautiful thing is you don't need people like us. This is not a sales pitch. You already done it. COVID में हमने सब किया है. Activity based learning, सब teachers ने activity कराया था बच्चों का when they didn't have a choice, when they could do it. I think you were saying it yesterday or somebody else was saying it कि हम भूल गए हम COVID में हमने क्या किया था. You just have to bring that culture back. Say ये अब YouTube से activity निकालो, everyday material लो, उनको activity से पढ़ो, and then build the scaffolding and the training around that. I think you know, I think it's a very easy start to building STEM, start to build the S in STEM, and you know, and the teachers are, they want to get upskilled. They don't have, you know, they are saying मुझे ये चाहिए, मुझे ऐसे पढ़ना है, मैं एक टाइम ऐसे पढ़ाऊंगी तो वापस नहीं जाऊंगी, right? So they are also ready. So it is us, I mean, who have to help make that happen. Sorry, that was my.
No, that's awesome. So, I mean, what the common theme that I'm seeing is one, that everybody on this panel is really passionate. And I'm presuming that everybody of you also is really passionate about it, hence you're here in this room. So the passion is something that's driving more people to actually build that culture, right? So that agency and that passion, when we pass on, I think that's when cultures and mindset fit, right? So that's one definite common thematic that I see. I definitely, just to summarize, I mean, I'll talk about Makers Asylum later. That's okay. We're doing a workshop later. So, but nonetheless, I resonate exactly with everybody over here. And I think what we've been doing is going a little bit beyond and introducing everybody, including adults, to the joy of making and doing things, right? Because it's not just children, but all of us can start building that collaborative mindset at any point in time. Because just like scuba diving, paragliding, all your adventure sports, making and learning also can start at any point in time, right? And exploration of skills. So that's what we are really been focusing on ourselves. But I resonate with everybody. And just to summarize the panel, I think a couple of things that came to mind is, one, how do you drive passion and motivation and spread the culture so that everybody has, you know, everybody is motivated equally to, you know, bring that energy in, because it requires energy to perpetrate energy, right? I think that's definitely one. Then how do we create spaces where there's no barrier of, you know, when you create a space, how does that inspire somebody, right?
Yes.
And that space brings ownership to somebody as well, right? And once the ownership is there, then you don't have to do anything. Yeah. And that we've seen across all our organizations, I think. So once people have ownership, they drive it, they learn, learning will be their lifelong journey, right? So you have to just instigate that spark, and how do you do that is by passing on that ownership of that space. There's some examples that I can give around ownership of space. We've seen at Makers Asylum, every space, we've moved 8 spaces in 10 years, starting from a 100 square foot garage to a 10,000 square foot space to whatever, right? The place did not matter. What mattered was that every time that we made the space, the people came and made the space with us. So somebody painted the walls, somebody built the furniture, somebody created whatever in the space. So they had the ownership to come back and actually feel like, you know, they're back home. And that's what you want to create in your spaces as well. And I think the other piece is also not to be afraid of external pressure. There's no need to be afraid of external pressure, because I think it's an experimental journey for India. I think I think I would say that for the next 10 years, we're going into this space where we're really encouraging experimentation, which we've not done in the last many years, right? Because we've kind of like, our engineers wanted to do IIT because that's where the jobs were. We never made stuff, we never built things, but now we're saying that yes, you can do that, because if you're doing carpentry or if you're doing welding, that's great. I mean, it's not like you can not be an engineer and not get your hands dirty, right? So those kind of thoughts are something that are really important to kind of encourage, and this encouragement around experimentation is key. Sometimes people say that it's a privileged thing to have, but I don't think so, right? So it's important to, you know, push that out. And I think overall, just I think collaborative sharing of, you know, what we're doing with where we're doing, right? In Goa, be it in Bombay, be it in Jaipur, be it in Delhi. Just sharing, I think, is an important tenet of this mindset itself. So as a collective, if we share and learn from each other, I think we'll all really grow that space, because like, you know, in terms of business, when we say that when the market share increases, everybody's pie increases, right? So similarly in this, I think if the equity by all of us is increasing, we're all increasing that space in ourselves, and I think it's going to do really well. I think this morning was really inspiring for me to hear from Manish and Anand and their speeches, and I think we all spoke about the same thing, that India is the next big thing, and we're all very much part of this learning, you know, this creation of this space for everyone to learn, experiment, and do more things, and it's going to really do wonders for us. So with that, I think I'm on time. But we can have a conversation as well, and yeah, I'll stop here and then we'll take it from there. But any thoughts?
With your permission, I would like to add on to what the panel said. It is not only about all the labs are there. We also have a special learning lab. We call it a learning lab. We don't call it a special educational needs center with 4 teachers. So we are inclusive in that sense. In addition to that, we have a design and technology lab, but we are outsourcing it to a facilitator, and this particular conference definitely, and I'll be reaching out to you also, sir, so that we can get the right people in, right? Because you have the experience. Balaji, I believe you are working with one of the schools, so I'll be reaching out to you as well. Then we have a corner in the school. We are almost a 40-acre campus, which we call Botanica. So wherein we give children a hands-on on, instead of learning it from the text or internet, we tell them, okay, grow. This is the area, it's Botanica, right? So that is where they grow. They learn the medicinal plants, xerophytes also in certain portions. So that's what we are doing. We do invite people with scientific background and temperament. So I am sure some of you might have heard of Professor Chetan Singh Solanki. The audience might not be aware of him. I think we all need to know him. He's called the Solar Man of India, or the Solar Gandhi of India, Professor Solanki. So I invited him in. This gentleman is a professor in IIT. He gave up, he's on a mission to spread awareness. Right? He's on a mission to spread awareness, and he has left his home for 11 years. So he's not going to go back to his home for the next 11 years. It's been 4 years. So he came and he talks about environment, how we are responsible, and he will not say we, he says I am responsible, and he'll take you through it. And then he's up to the mission of energy literacy training, right? Because we have, at the end, it's only one planet which we all have, right? So we introduced this concept of energy literacy training, and students participated, staff participated, and we were given a climate clock. Now that climate clock came, and we engaged our children to assemble. There was some simple set of instructions, and that is up on our dining hall. Now what is that? It is constantly reminding us, it's a reverse clock. It is constantly reminding us that approximately 4 years, 300, and as of today probably it would be 330 days or something are left for the climate to increase by 1.5 degrees centigrade. Right? It's just a constant reminder. The idea was the students who had taken, who were doing environment as a subject, we did not ask them to assemble, they sent it to us and we had them assemble it, and it's up there. It's a constant reminder. Right? Then we are lucky in Bhopal, we have the Regional Science Center. So occasionally, as and when exhibitions are happening, we take our students as a part of the curriculum, so it becomes a tour. So the children go there of different levels. Then some of our students are also filing patents at Shulni University in Himachal. So we send them there. They are filing patents, industrial patents. We also facilitate children, those who have interest in astronomy, to work closely with ISRO. So some of our students, we send them to Dehradun also for a kind of a workshop. And my last take would be from STEM to STEAM to STREAM as of now. My personal take is that day is not very far when we will be talking of streaming, ING. And the I think would be inspire, N will be a naturalist, and G will be games, because you have to be physically fit, right? So I think STEM, STEAM, STREAM, and ING will get added soon, and probably in next 4 or 5 years we will be talking of streaming. That's my take. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Nice.
I have a question. I think we talked about how a lot of coding or robotics can be built into school. I come from an experience as a parent. I feel one issue which I face with a lot of block coding at a higher grade, and I think my experience is biased by one kid. I think would love to hear your perspective on that. I feel that the more you expose them to real microcontrollers and sensors instead of blocks, I think the more you equip them to make interesting things. I've seen kids from my son's school who go to FRC, win prizes. They don't know what microcontroller they really work on.
Yeah.
They don't know what sensor how the sensors work. I have seen, again, my son has never had formal training in robotics. During COVID, we just introduced him to Arduino and a bit of sensors. He understood that he was able to do a lot of tinkering on his own, made he played the Dino game using hand gestures, used a sensor to kind of do that. Made a touchless doorbell, extended it to make a relay, automated the lightings in the home. And this is a 6th standard kid. What I learned, at least as a parent, is he did participate in something called WRO, where it's all about block coding, and he got very frustrated. He says, I don't understand how this works, and half the time it doesn't work. And I don't know why it doesn't work. But when he got introduced to something which was really working on those boards and understand how this functions, it really helped him a big way. I see a lot of schools not following that approach. I would love to hear your perspective on that. How do you kind of weigh in between the two?
So block-based programming is essentially for lower primary students, second, third, fourth. But then we start Perl programming, Python, right? And then as far as sensors and microcontrollers are concerned, those including 3D printer and all, how does it function? Those are there right from 6th grade onwards. In fact, I want to, unless somebody wants to answer, add more to programming.
I wanted to add something, but you can go ahead.
I wanted to add a couple a teacher who's a specialist in sculpture and all, and the students are working with the teacher in coming up with these masks and all. Another studio that we've built at Prometheus School is recording studio. So children who are into vocals or music, they get to do the production in our recording studio. So there is engineering and music.
Just to your question, actually, I just wanted to add that we run this program called the Innovation School, which is out of school, but it's 13 plus, so 8th grade and above. And one of the things I feel that a lot of parents have been really focusing on, because I speak to a lot of parents myself, this whole getting into competitions is something that I'm just tired about. Because honestly, one, there are no skills that are picked up. You're just kind of working in constraint, and the imagination is just not going anywhere, right? Absolutely. So one, at the Innovation School, at least for Makers Asylum, we've been really talking about that there's no prize at the end of this. And it's important to have that mindset of problem solving, irrespective of something that's hanging for you, and sort of building a collaborative over competitive mindset, right? So, and the pieces that we work with is actually Arduinos and all that kind of stuff, where because these devices have a lot more imagination that you can build in. So I think the building blocks are nice, but it's important for them to discover,
gradually move
to discover the whole spectrum of making also, which starts from traditional making to going up to different skills. So that the imagination is sort of expanded, and then you can implement solutions which are creative, right? Because otherwise, how would that happen? So I think it's just my take on that.
Collaboration over competition.
I think we start coding and using proper languages too late. We talked yesterday about how the best language acquisition skills happen in the first 6 years of learning, and we just think of it as speaking languages, but programming languages follow the same suit. I think we should start it much younger with our learners. I really do, and I think it's something that's.
I want to add to Stephen, by the way. I know that everyone's talking about this early childhood, but we've seen even adults pick up these skills at any point.
Oh no, everybody can pick it up,
everyone.
but the kids will pick it up so much faster.
Yeah, of course. So I'm just it doesn't matter. Maybe it doesn't matter when we start. I don't know.
I feel differently. I think we need to keep children away, especially the students until grade 5. Keep them away from laptop, from smart devices. Let them be out in the field. Let them be in visual art studio. Let them do whatever play.
I would say
And
till
learn.
age 99.
Yeah.
I would say children till age 99 at least, maybe
Yeah.
age 100.
And I think
We should keep them away from all this.
You think they are learning programming? They are watching a video that you would want them to go out and do something meaningful.
I think you all live in a different world to me, and I said yesterday that technology was an inevitability, and it's something that we all have to actually just accept as going to be part of our lives. And we have to learn to embrace it and to teach people to use it responsibly as opposed to the other way of taking it away, because anything you take away, they will just want it
Oh,
more.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, but when you have them meaningfully engaged,
Yeah, then it's
and
different.
then it's different.
Yeah. Raman,
So
yeah.
I
Sorry.
want to change the conversation slightly, and this is a personal problem that I'm like scared of facing in the next year or two. So right now we are doing all these activities around STEM, STEAM, etc. And let's say we are good at what we do, and children are inspired. They want to now pursue these streams in higher education. So in grade 10, a parent asks me, okay, my child now, great job till now he wants to be an engineer. So should he continue tinkering? I'll say no. Right now, the landscape is such
Yeah.
that the best engineering program in the country still exists in places like IIT and Pitspilani and whatnot. And to make it there,
You have to
you've got to
compete.
drop this
Yeah.
and get into the competitive examination
That's
landscape,
true.
right? So, I'm sure our movement will change that. More and more engineering colleges will do a better job, and children will spread thin across the country. But till that happens, what should we guide our students to do after grade 9, not even after grade 10? So we have inspired a student. What should be the next steps for the student according to the panel here? I only have students till grade 8, so I'm just really nervous about answering this question next year.
It's a great question.
So CAS, community service and all, giving back to the society, engaging them in sustainability projects, they have to build their portfolio, right?
But just to that, Mukesh, what he's saying is also that the Indian system of engineering does not even care for the portfolio, right?
No,
then
so
what happens?
I'm talking about Indian system only. So my friend, now you talked about IITs and Pitspilani. I would say I do not want my child to even apply there. I mean, I can show you a tweet from day before yesterday from Professor Ram Gopal Rao, who's the group vice chancellor of Pitspilani. And he is concerned about these new age universities that are offering engineering courses, and the students from there, once they do graduation, they cannot even apply for MTech or whatever. I mean, that he said. So if you Google about Plaksha University, right, which is based out of Mohali, they are doing they are offering engineering courses, and students do not need to compete in any exam for that. They just need to do well in 12th grade. And they need to have done some meaningful work, and they are not just offering BTech in computer science. It is more of applied, right?
So these are very expensive
Yeah,
places.
they are
I mean, for most of the population, it's still the government,
I
NITs and IITs that they can hope to get good learning.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
there are
That's
some
just one
things-
example. I'm
Sorry, one quick comment, and then we go to you. Yeah.
Two things that I feel here. One, there's a difference between tier 1 cities and tier 2 cities.
Absolutely.
Jaipur, because I moved from Delhi to Jaipur, so I can see that difference in mindset of the parents.
Yes.
So understanding that also, and we have to cater to that mindset also.
Agreed.
That is one. And as nation, and probably in the whole scenario of education, we are largely changing from a knowledge-based, system to skill-based.
Yes.
So we are at a threshold. We have not gone there altogether.
There's
So
like
that thing also we have to be very
I'm
mindful
talking
of.
about
That
the next 2 years. What do we do in the next 2 years?
Yeah.
Because that's in a way
Because,
that we are failing
10
our own students, right?
Yeah, true.
You get them to a point where they're excited by this, and then suddenly you take it away from them.
Agreed.
So to find that kind of solution which works for the complete reality of today
Yeah.
is a problem which most of us are
That's
facing.
true.
I think on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Naman, I think on that, my perspective one is I think this entire notion of a child needs to drop everything to get into an IIT or IIM is very, very misplaced, right? I mean, I and my wife keep in fact, I met my wife when I was preparing for JEE. I hardly prepared. Right?
Nice.
I
good,
feel
good
that,
job.
it's like how the medical science works. You are prescribed something as a preventive drug for something like a vaccine, but you have very few cases where you test that if I don't do this, what would happen, right? I mean, at the end of the day, these are very conceptual exams. You don't really need to put in donkey's hours to do that. And at the end of the child needs a break. I feel kids who are really good, let them use that as their break time.
Yeah.
I mean, my son, he plays football for the state. He has been a tinkerer for a while, self-learned. I mean, he in fact stammers. He's currently working on a device using electronics to kind of note his heart rates and figure out when his heart rate increases on what words, which can probably help him work on his stammering.
Nice.
He also is one of the top students in the class. He has been communicating with Professor H.C. Verma since grade 8 on concepts of physics.
Oh my God, that's like a
Right?
nightmare book.
He in fact figured out that's an issue. I mean, it's a nightmare for us as parents, right? I mean, I really feel I cannot address his doubts at one point of time. I feel this entire notion that you really need to spend.
But what's the point? Is the point that kids need to do that? Or like, how do you
my point
scale
is
this?
you don't really need to
You
drop
don't need to
something
go
to get into an IIT or IIM. I think that notion, and probably
Or do you
we
want
as
me to get into
educators-
IIT
But
or IIM is the
like,
question.
What do you think? This is great. And
What is the best place to study engineering in the country, and how do you get in?
They're not just
I think to
deriving
get
math.
in is what he talked about, Balaji. Build a system where kids are curious. To them, a physics should not be a subject which I'm forced to study, right? If it helps them understand what the world, like you talked about torque, right? When I discussed torque with my son, we talked about a laptop. You close a laptop from the top, you close a laptop close to the hinge. See the force you need to change. You open a door closer to the hinge, you open a door far from the hinge, right? What changes? We talked about.
I agree.
So
but
if you
that
build
gets
that-
them excited to become engineers, to want to become engineers.
Right.
But then the last 4 years, I mean, it would be ill-advised if I tell them not to prepare for that exam. And that
No,
exam
I'm
is
not saying don't
And
prepare.
that exam is not conceptual. It's not designed to pick the most curious minds.
No,
It's
I'm not
designed
Trying
to
to fail maximum
pick those who
people.
can persevere, who can just memorize.
That's what I feel. That's a misnomer, right? I don't think IT exam is like that. You don't really need to put in that much.
it
If
is.
you're conceptually sound,
It is, unfortunately, I've gone through it as well.
I
if you're
scored a -11 on
conceptually
it.
sound, you
I
should
found
be able
myself
to
in
clear
this
that.
way.
I feel. See, the good part these days is you don't really need to be in top 100 to make the best out of the IT platform. You can still get into, let's say, lower ranks, make it there, and still come out to be a great example. I think that's probably.
I just want a quick comment from Todd. Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure it's going to be quick, sorry, I'll try. It's one of those ones where I think as a school as well, you need to start to determine what your identity sort of is and what it is that in which direction you want to put a lot of your focus and energy, because it's going to be very difficult for you to, as a school, to prepare kids for those types of exams, whilst also being a creative, innovative environment. The two, there's just not enough time in a day to do all of it, and we're sort of fighting that battle a little bit as we're developing, probably at a similar rate to you are in terms of getting into those older grade levels. And we, just from our perspective, to share a personal point on it, I suppose, is we've decided to be very straight up with our parents who are coming into us and let them know that we are not going to prepare them for those types of examinations. It's not what we philosophically necessarily believe in, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those examinations or that system. It is a very good system that's produced fantastic engineers for generations and all of that sort of thing, but the preparation that goes into an exam like that, you can't do that whilst necessarily being as creative, as innovative and as hands-on as you want to be. So we try and equip them with the knowledge, which I think they definitely will have. They'll have the right mindset, they'll have the skills, but then to be able to sit an exam like that and have the necessary, I guess, exam-specific skills to do it, that's something they pursue outside of school. And we try and bridge the gap a little bit where we can. But a lot of our kids too, we found it's often their parents that have aspirations for them to want to go there. The kids themselves, some of those from our other campuses have gone out and gone to do that. They get disengaged once they go to places like that because they've had an environment that has been so innovative, creative, inquiry-driven, learner-centered, all that sort of thing, and then they're going back to a very traditional approach. And so they start doing something like that, but then they change tack because they realise that's not necessarily the best. Now, that's not everybody, but again, I fully sympathise with where you're at and having to talk to these parents and answer these questions.
The concern is not parents. I mean, we can be upfront similarly. It's the student, right?
It's the reality.
The
But
best
that's
place
where
to
it's a bit
study
of a
engineering in the
challenge,
country is IT.
Yeah.
And I can't help you get there.
Yeah. Atri, you
No,
wanna-
actually, you
Atri, wanna
can.
make a comment?
Yeah, I mean, so my dad has been teaching for IIT for like the past 35 years now. And I've gone through that process, I've seen it through in front of my eyes, and now, I've chosen not to, pursue that as a educationist myself. But I think it's a mix of two. So like you've done like the groundwork. So I mean, just to specifically talk about your situation, till 8th standard you've given them the groundwork, the culture, including the teachers, including the peers that they have in the school. And now in 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, they have to just focus. I mean, it's just about focusing that, now it is, I mean, I have to, just do this. It's just a decision that you have to take as a child, as a person who wants to pursue that as a career. And then, you devote maximum time over there. But then when you feel like tinkering, when you want to blow off steam, when you want to just, get out of that almost a rat race and need a space for yourself, you come back to that experimentation. But it becomes a playing zone rather than just what you're doing all the day, right? So it's just kind of.
I'm sorry, I'm interjecting.
Yeah.
I'm just fearful that once the child declares that this is their aspiration, they're not going to get the opportunity to stay in my school anymore.
You shouldn't be afraid of losing students.
Yeah, that,
I mean,
very much.
Eventually, you're going to establish your identity and who you will be.
The child will not be making the decision, right? So they will get pulled out of the system and
That's
thrown
where
into
parents come
another
in.
system.
That's
So
where
well,
parent
that's
comes
That's
part
where the
of
parent
life,
comes
I
in.
guess.
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't be afraid of
Yeah.
losing parents. You shouldn't be
That's
afraid of
when-
losing staff. You shouldn't be afraid.
That's
of
kind of the
losing
focus that you'll have
Yeah.
to choose
But
then.
I have to say that there's parallels in both, because we work with a lot of these IB schools. We've also worked with a lot of the CBSE based teenagers, and then also teenagers from a completely economic background that they completely come from. So I think there are a couple of things, right? So I'll give you an example of Ganesh. I was talking to somebody this morning as well. Ganesh came to us from TFI. He was absolutely terrible at school. So they said that, why don't you guys take him in and look at what you can do with him. He's a son of a woodworker, didn't want to kind of go to school. So we took him in, we trained him for a year with all the maker skills, he built stuff, made things, all of that happen. And then he turned out to be a prodigy in making. And so he started then we got him back to actually do facilitation for a lot of our other programs where we were working with universities from outside. So he became a facilitator and mentor for them because now he's learned. So he's sharing, so he's becoming better at his skills. And post that, what happened was really incredible, that one of our friends who had a hardware startup in Bombay out of IIT was working on jetpacks. Very hardcore technical, thing. And he got directly hired by him after, he was 18 to actually work with them. So that's one example, right? So if you want to be an engineer, you don't need to be at IITs and IIMs, I guess. I would say that in IBs and stuff, we've seen a lot of them going abroad, wanting that aspirational thing, that I want to go to university abroad and do, all of that. But the IB curriculum is crazy. Like, to just find time and schedule with them, we had to design something so flexible, and yet we get calls from parents saying that, they're doing so much. So and equivalent of that is the IIT preparation or whatever else, right? So everyone's going through the grind in different ways. It's what the grind that you want to choose, but you still want to have that curiosity mindset, right?
A lot of kids who are in IB schools, they actually, a lot of them, because I've seen a lot, after 10th grade, they leave that IB syllabus and go to a CBSE.
It's crazy,
because their parents are scared that they may not be able to do these exams.
Yeah.
And where do they have? There's so much in the IB.
Yeah.
And for India, of course, they've given extra subjects you can do, but IB's real curriculum is only 7 subjects.
Yeah.
And you take one science, and India, so you can go to the medical college, you have to do biology and physics.
Yeah, you have to do it, it's a complex situation, I guess, but it's what it is, right? So
I got somebody into IIT this year while attending regular school.
Yeah.
And what we do is to take off the pressure of 10th and 12th from
Yeah,
them.
that's what they
So
do.
we let them come.
That's it.
And then, although there is a danger, if you give them a soft spot, they just come and sit there. So what we do is we reduce the timetable, and we say, all right, you do your essentials here, and then you go for your grind. So it's become more of a
best to
friend's
be
law.
transparent with
We are
parents and
very
the child.
clear about it.
Absolutely.
We are very clear about it, and there is somebody who just cracked IIT doing that. So if they are able to do it, the numbers would be lower than those, the dummy schools. But then there will be a few. And another thing which you have been trying to build that scientific temper is that these guys, if their concepts are good, they don't have to work as hard as those who are just trying to memorize.
Memorize it.
So, these are guys with good building blocks in them. Teachers can tell in grade 7 or 8 that this guy is IIT material. Don't send him to the factory. Retain him, give as many offs that you have to, and let them go post-afternoon for their regimentation. It's working well.
Which is great advice.
We have retention, we have committed students, we have parents who are thankful that their kids haven't reached the brink. Some of them were bright, couldn't do it, still parents didn't have because they are also, parents are very, very scared now. What happens if my kid doesn't get? So
No,
that's a safety net
that's actually a bigger problem. That's
so
actually
we
a much
give them
bigger problem. We just don't
also,
talk about it.
In doing so, we are giving them a safety net.
Yes. And that's very important actually as
You look at the conversion ratios.
who's gone through the same thing. I can absolutely
I have
agree
kids
with it.
leaving me, going to Kota and coming back. So the kids who leave, we wait for them for a few months, and quite a few of them turn back and say, no, we just don't want to be in that environment. And yet they make it. So I think what school started off as small microcosms for children where they felt safe, looked after, you don't have to just sell them off to the factory.
So the work we do in the first 8 years will give us dividends regardless of what the system is.
The other thing is what you answered, right? You said life. So it's true, right? Life doesn't end at IIT admissions. And I think parents need to realize that. Getting into IIT doesn't ensure anything, right? A lot of 50% of the batch doesn't get placed what you hear about in the newspapers, right?
I completely agree. It's just that if a child asks me, मुझे India में पढ़ना है और engineer बनना है, what's the best place? I can't lie to them and say it's not IIT. It is
No,
IIT.
I am not saying that. I'm not saying that.
But I think I would differ. I would say that there's so many universities that are really amazing in India and engineering colleges. I went to Mesra in Ranchi. It's one of the it's beautiful. It's very underrated. VIT Mesra. We had the best of the, but there's so much discovery. There's the NITs are so amazing. We just have to say that there's so much that is there. Like you're not ending with IIT.
Exactly.
I'll give you an example. My daughter has completed her MBBS. She did it from a private college, and she has a friend who has done it from KEM. But when it comes to the way they were taught in a private medical college, and the way they are being teaching in a government college is completely different. At this juncture, when she's just completed her internship, she is ready to do the processes, but a government college student is not. So you cannot rate that the IIT is the best. There are other colleges also which do a pretty good job.
We need to speak more about
So you just need to find more of them.
Educate.
What I want to tell you, Mr. IIT, when you go there, maybe it was.
No, I didn't go to it.
That's why
So I love hearing that IIT is not the best.
Because I'm not saying it's not the best or the worst or whatever, but there's so much more even in this country.
That's true.
That IIT is not the end
Fortunately, companies when they're hiring, they're no longer looking only at the
exactly.
And that's why a portfolio comes in handy. Sometimes these kids have done such beautiful things in a science congress that they get picked up right from that time on. There is somebody ready to give mentorship.
And on their panel, there's always a psychologist.
Yes. So you have to be sound that way.
It's just
There's nobody would want somebody who's
I know
fragile.
we're done. But I was just letting it be because I was like, I don't need to do the workshop anymore.
But I'll just conclude with one thing. Just like I said, this Da Vinci yesterday.
Yes.
I always say that there is a 5-year-old adult walking about on the campus.
all they don't have is the vocabulary of the adults.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But they, if you leave it to them, these 5-year kids, they are confident. You don't have to, I always tell people, you make animal sounds when you talk to a kid. Why are you spoiling their ability to learn?
Absolutely.
Talk to them like normal humans. And we see so many videos now of children talking like adults. And we feel so awkward. We don't realize that, if you teach them how to think and talk like an adult, they will behave that way. And the danger of technology can also be countered in the same way. Why are we assuming that, what a child can do, an adult can do? I say it's vice versa.
With due respect, I would say we should flip the script.
Yeah, we should
all be 5-year-olds.
Absolutely.
Rather than get them to be like, we should go like a 5-year-old.
If you give them, let's say if you give them technology, not all of them are going to use them just for fun. There are some of them who actually put it to very good use.
Oh yeah.
So I think we have to talk to that 5-year adult.
I would like to add an experience of mine here. So, like years ago, like 10, 12 years ago, when critical thinking was a new thing in India, I had attended a conference on critical thinking, and I came back with a 100-piece puzzle. So it was grade 4. I had to do some administrative work, and somehow it so happened that I always have one period in the class. It was my period, but there was something to be done. I thought I'll give them puzzles. They'll be busy with whatever they are doing, and it'll take, because all of us principals couldn't solve it there. So I was very sure that, they will not be able to do it. 10 minutes, one group does it. And within 15 minutes, everybody had done it. So maybe we short sell them. Yeah. It is their capabilities are much more.
They are smarter than us.
Absolutely.
Research shows
Like for
they are
example,
smarter than
that
us.
cube which came out.
The Rubik's,
Yeah. And kids did it like this, and sitting on the aircraft.
Goes back to that TED talk.
When we do brainstorms, why do we do a brainstorm? But kids
do a
don't do
brain
brainstorms.
No.
When they want to come up with ideas, have you noticed that? They say, well, let's brainstorm. That's their natural state. So in a brainstorm, practically what we're doing in a brainstorm is we are suspending our adulthood.
Yeah.
Saying, please take that out, let's be silly.
Right.
Let's give ourselves permission to fail. Let's come up with ideas and let's build off each other.
Yeah.
You mean to say we can actually collaborate and build off each other without being egoistic about our ideas? That's what we're doing in a...
You say permission to fail.
Yeah,
That's the best.
That's what I mean. It's a safe space in a brainstorm. It's a safe space, a permission to fail.
So with that, should we get into my
Yes, let's
exercise?
I just want to say something what you said.
Yeah, please.
So, the way we're talking about the salary bit and all that stuff, this is, I'm especially relating to the higher CBSE schools, IB, Cambridge. When I walked into my school many, many moons back, and I'd say, why are these elementary kids, first graders, second graders paid so low? The teachers. So I called one of the chemistry teachers from high school. I said, teach these kids. No way could she go. She said, no one. And those kids questioned her. I said, so I changed all the payrolls.
Nice. And actually, to your point, it's very important that the first level of intervention needs to be the best quality as well.
Yes.
Because later they will do it themselves,
Exactly.
right? And so the first ones, like even I'm a paragliding pilot. I also do scuba diving. The best of the trainers are the ones that you learn first from, in that. So it should be at school as well.
Which is a very
No,
solid
there
state
is a
in most
place
of
for
the schools.
everybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that because you're an elementary school teacher, you will
Yeah, absolutely.
Rubbish.
Okay, amazing. I think with that, thank you so much everyone for participating. Should we get into a quick hands-on activities?
Yes.
Okay. So should we get up, get off our things? Should we go onto this? Maybe we'll go onto the stage because there's no space for. Should we sit around here?
I just want the rest.
Yeah, please. We need like
Do we need
two
chairs?
minutes.
No,
No. I think we need.
What do you want to set up? We can throw there or we
Yeah,
can
we
just
can.
be careful. Or we
Or
can
we
sit.
just move these around.
Do we need to sit on the floor?
No, I mean, however everybody wants to sit. I have no format.
Table if you start with.
Yeah, cool. So we'll be here. Yeah, we'll be
We
here.
can move the chairs out.
Quick start. start.
The analytical.
I'm
Okay, I can
one
be.
by
I'm a
one.
designer.
You're a designer. Okay, great. Balaji is a designer. You're.
I'm wearing my Jaipur design.
Okay, cool. Anybody identifies as a scientist? Fine. What is going on? So there's no identification. How about okay, educator? I know you are educator. Yeah. Okay, cool. Artist. Okay, awesome. Artist. Okay, great. How about I don't know, engineer? Okay, awesome. That was cool. You were really good, Richa. So we have a diverse group.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is maybe should we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? Oh, the 10 I'll be the facilitator, so 9. So that's perfect. So we'll do groups of 3s. Okay. So maybe should we mix it up a little bit? So 3 here, 3 there.
9, 10, 11.
Oh, we are 11. Yes. So did I not?
Yeah, it's 11.
Oh,
11.
so my bad. So maybe one group of 2 people, or maybe groups of 4. 4 and 3.
Yeah.
4 and
So
3.
4 here, 4 here, and 3 here. Okay?
Football formation.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. I'm not mixing up, but I'm presuming all of you are like a mix of different
Yes.
things.
I don't think 4
So,
plus 3 is legal.
What I was,
With one extra person, the referee.
I'll be the referee. So I want to start with giving you a problem statement, and in groups, I would like you to come up with solutions.
Okay.
Okay? And you have to make those solutions with whatever is available in this room.
Okay.
So demonstrate like how this solution would look like for us to imagine.
Okay.
Okay? Perfect? It can be anything in your bag, anything outside. So just, be as exploratory as you would like. Okay? So quick. So the
We're taking the curtains.
So the problem statement is jaguar, the animal, not the car. Oh, Balaji. A jaguar is on the loose at night, okay? And you need to fend it off. You need to speak, but the jaguar is on the loose, so you need to fend it off. So come up with solutions that would do that. Fair?
Okay.
Fend it off or give you an intimation that the jaguar is here to give you a sense of that you need to be alert. So what would you do, and what would you come up with? Okay, so we can take 15 minutes, and I had asked for some papers and stuff for brainstorming, but what I will try to do is
So it has to be something physical.
yes, it has to be.
That's the point.
It has to be physical. So
We have to make something.
yeah, you have to make you have to make something. Yes, using all your stuff. Okay. So first, you guys can go into brainstorming discussion. You get 15 minutes to talk about
The sounds of female jaguars somewhere over here.
We don't know if it's a male or a female. Or it will then
I was hoping we have a smoke in this group and we have a light. So we can just set up fires.
Well, that goes with smell.
Yeah.
sound.
Or a physical light.
Jackets over them and
Use the phone and put up a small speaker with papers or whatever it is and have
How long will the battery last?
We were making a big assumption.
Unless you have like a fire or circular fire.
Where are we originally? Are we in a jungle?
Yes, I mean, we're not in a jungle.
Do we have access to Wi-Fi power?
It's up to your imagination what you have access to. You can ask me questions. I'll give you answers.
If you're in a jungle, you don't have
Is it wrong to say that we just sacrifice?
And the three of us are There's a group of three in the bed. There's a Jaguar car on the loose, you have to stop it.
You can, you can go and
That is the briefing.
The briefing is there's a problem statement, there's a jaguar of the leaves, so as a group, and you guys
Smells,
and how the sound,
sound.
yeah, you can say that. So you can come up with
What is a jaguar scared of? In terms of a larger animal?
any of fire. It's a deterrent. Fire is always a deterrent.
Like an elephant's sound.
Which group are you in?
Yes.
yes.
No, you have jaguars here.
No, that was leopards. They're leopards.
Jaguars.
So it doesn't feel just show us what it's going to look like. and what is
Yeah,
what's
you have to
happening.
make it physically. We have to make it physically.
We don't do sensors.
But in their hypothetical sense.
Unless we're allowed.
No, no, you don't have to have it. You can do placeholders and make something look like a. I mean, imagine, right?
Yeah, anything this four-legged can swim.
They don't like the feel of it. They like the feel. Sorry.
You could think this as
Fire would be different.
Yeah, but remember that jaguars may be attacked from on high. So the one that comes in a tree, most likely or in a jungle, as opposed to coming on the ground.
Yeah, in wildlife, now masters, what was called if you are getting into a jungle. And you know it is frequented by leopards. Always carry a stick above your head. That means on your shoulder like an umbrella. Anything that is pointed, it is a deterrent. It is a deterrent because the leopard, when it gauges, it will not jump. Anything sharp above your head, higher.
Are jaguars stealthy like do they attack? So something forest officers in Bangladesh do. They wear caps but have like artificial eyes on the back. So the tiger doesn't attack. It thinks it is.
But that's the tiger.
Yeah, that's why I was like if jaguars also.
That's what I
What is the jaguars?
Like two cameras to cover about 180 degrees.
Probably anything which can start it.
We can use anything in the room.
We can share.
We can share. It is a sharp jaguar.
It can be something like this.
Like that's assume that it is. You can make it.
So if you have to go through, this is what is so it will create.
Oh, she's putting up the strikes. We have a lamp light.
We can say a
We
torch.
can electrocute.
Yeah, torch. A torch.
Yeah. No, there's no power. What is this? That's the
That's what I was saying.
And then we use the locally available material.
Use a fire.
Take a torch.
But if you're in the jungle, then we can find sticks.
Sticks also. The stick also does the trick.
So basically fire is.
Actually,
Fire will be a bit. Another fire doesn't jump on you.
yes.
Yeah.
Should we start making? We're supposed to make a solution with our hands.
That's what we've done. Yes.
No, no, it's just making a concept.
Yes, you have to.
You have to make it.
To put it together and visualize it and make it. Yes.
So we have paper. Small has paper. It's going to be useful. Yep.
Small bottle I have.
Yeah, let's collect what we have.
Just these chairs of an ellipse. When it sends that's the jaguar will not come.
That's which can be.
Yeah, we are inside. This is the fire.
Yeah, that we don't have anything, but we need lots of bottles. Just give me have wires. Can we tie wires? No budget. No, you're saying it's going to jump into the tree. So I think
This is
something sharp.
whatever
We have
lights
sharp
the
that we
fire.
can use.
So this is the circle of availability with
Yeah, so you're saying it had. Do you want to just put this on this as there's one maker which will be looking at the sacrifice by.
Building down.
Once it's there, you just light the fire like this.
So it has to be.
Sounds like my nose.
Doesn't jump from
This is the world's most feared jaguar feature.
You can pull out some materials from our toolkit. Oh yeah, I can see that's being yeah, and
So can you get share with them?
but
Yeah, because guys, if you want materials, there are some materials here. We can share.
You have your magic box.
With yesterday's materials.
We have.
One more pair. Bells are good. That is good. That's too scary.
And then the final thing is the fire.
It's too close, then you just start trying.
मैं किसी में कॉन्फ्रेंस में बैठा हूँ तो अभी तो जयपुर में इसलिए फोन नहीं उठा रहा हेलो No, they are predators. They are predators. आप मैं काम करूँगा मैं यहाँ से डायरेक्शन फोन कर दूँगा आप आ जाओ सब और किसी को दे
Offer. I offer.
Let's go for the meeting.
Those ones are really
We have
We have one prototype of something that might make a Jaguar more interested in us.
Nice, that's great. How's it going?
Rather than
You guys building something?
We've got all these ideas, we haven't got some buildings. We've got the light, the lights there.
Okay. You're getting that. Okay.
And we had a director who said, you know what, teaching and learning
What a jag you must trade.
most of the schools nobody knew also. First of April, na? I think March 21st.
Oh, that's good, Mother.
उससे पहले March, early March में ये
So we have a source of fire.
Interesting.
But we have to see so who's going to bang the...
What are you doing? Turn the back. Oh, sorry. Forget it. It's good. Yes, with this way, and then
really high.
Sort of noise, a rattle or something, which the minute they step, sounds off. So that's like a level 1.
Looking for deterrents.
to people who have been excited.
So when you complicate, you know, what you run when you are trying to do a trial run. At the final you have so many variables, something will
So I started questioning where the world is. Something else. And these guys went off with sticks. And that's where I lost them, and I became disengaged and fired.
So we've been thinking about different methods and trying to gauge every So one idea was we used usually instant sounds because it's not a different language. But then he said that we have found South Asian that's not going to be we just trying different
So do you want to, we have done that, let's get back to the smell theory.
No, it's not. It's not going.
We are done.
I think
We integrated technology.
Yeah, that prototype.
I think we, well, tell me if I'm wrong, John.
No, we
went
3 layered.
we added it to start together.
We led the
You come back
conversation.
and focus the conversation, really creative.
Should we try unwinding that?
I don't know if I'm just saying
It's a very
my
powerful
point of view. And that's what I think. But then I became disengaged because it became more about the object as opposed to what we were actually trying to do.
So do you
But
want to try tracking back?
but that's my fault.
But we can try tracking back and see if that leads us now to a different path. So
I look, everybody's doing this. It's not the best.
हमारे यहाँ जब मास्क वगैरह बनाने के लिए
It's simple. That's what was common. It's like we
and now you know they are there.
everybody's playing so we have
already also you find students. तुमको आ रही है next week
22nd.
She's been practicing at the last 2 years.
That is a good question. Maybe surrounding us is also
Because if you're looking at a net, where are we positioned?
World class facilities, but not just Indian coaches, world did a call some 5 days world champion. He comes there along with the coaches, Middle East to come and practice here.
Into something. So by the time it comes out, it's
Level of exposure.
So we are very elastic group.
So you have to invest in because they are the ones who are going to otherwise
Like for example, like I mean, so we were also exploring, is there a fence that we can make? Like physical barrier. Could we make physical? Or like how, like let's problem statement. Will we ever come to know only quantify Jaguar? Like if I'm refining it as a problem statement, is there any way we can come to know that we know if someone has become like a police source? Or even that we could
camera. So we can set up a phone.
So we set up mobile phone cameras around and I'm sure one which takes a picture while an object. So probably we have put ourselves we all have so we can put it out including one on top to another security.
That's why I said how it's quantified.
So we download that app and we set up a phone camera to get an early warning.
See, as a person who's running that organization, maybe it's easier. But for a person who's trying to join that organization, both in terms of talent and experience,
I don't think they would need to
it's easier with now.
We need, yeah, and we take turns. We need an observation point. We need the cameras set up with this app. That's one solution. Now, we sense that the Jaguar is. What's your first line of defense? Just get it. Noise. Yeah. The noise. This comes in there. And like this.
The fire should already be there. Yeah, the fire should already be unless you have a light.
But we don't have fire. Is that,
we use something.
friction, and we make that, and then so this so using fire is always going near us, like as close to us. We stay around. We stay close to the fire.
Look, you're in the jungle.
It's really easy. Now you can see some of these projects from that.
Sure, we must have something like clothing we could well turn into a
That's great.
wrap around, like a shirt, just rip it apart, put it around.
Yeah, we did
There should be some, right, if we are smart enough to do the job, there should be some natural oil, some sort of trees.
or bar
or something, there should be some sort of thing that
So we get stakes, bar, get our clothing, have things ready, something which is some source of fire which combust over a long time. Like if the oil is burning and there's some emergency for flares to light up, if you want a big flame to save yourself, for example, which will flame quickly, but it'll do, like I'd use my clothes as a last line of defense, you know, like wave fire it, right? And I'd have something which is like a fire hose, for example, as the first line.
I've been assuming by I'm in trouble. I don't know if we were on. I just felt
Exploration. We're back into problem statement. So early system is not the first line of defense. Do we throw it out? Do we throw something at the jump? Can we throw within the
it's not about the noise, it's about what you can we like get some like or our clothing to make ourselves like the bigger you look, the more they don't.
Yeah. So
I'm presuming it's the same for a big cat. I know that works for bear. That's bear.
So you're fire, and we are around the fire like this. And the shadows, and then we have throw some sharp things at it. Some sort of trap. That's happening also when it's going to.
So,
still very cool. And if you have
protection is fire.
Nothing works
Just in case, you said first to fire, then you
so I think we have a
limited
plan so far. Anything else? Are we missing something?
And we have assumed we're camping. That's the basic assumption.
Is there some easier way to do?
We have a net that
We think we try to
with
their unique capability.
have the time.
limited resources. Our imagination is rich.
Yeah, we are cornered, but we have the advantage. We have the advantage. We know the direction.
Any accomplishment
And then we set up everything. So we find
like this corner. This is our corner. We have a method.
I think just a quick one, just everyone's attention back. So I think we're pretty much off on time now. So how about we gather around around this group quickly? Let's go.
I think we do last week.
I choose. It's my workshop. All right, guys. So why don't you guys? All good.
We have a tribal here amongst us.
So guys, okay. Let's talk to this group now. Tell us a little bit about what's going on. What are your solutions that you show us?
We need this film, right? I mean, it would be nice.
Yeah, he's filming it.
We need this film.
For me, maybe I want to talk more about the journey. So we started off really, really well. We had lots of great ideas that were coming out, and we were thinking outside the box. And then we started focusing too much on the object, and then we started thinking it's the objects that define what it is that we're trying to do. And I became disaffected and started playing on my phone, and then
We're going to set up a series of our phones, because we all have phones. And you said there's some sort of
There's a security camera app,
yeah,
which will
sound if
signal.
there's any movement. Now there shouldn't be any other big predators in the area because they should be scared of the animal in the first place that's coming. They'll sense that it's coming. We then have you have some noise. Which will hear that.
And then
We
once we
talk-
detect the panther, the jaguar, then we start with the noise.
Yeah, we then talked about creating a fire that would be already going and could be ready. We talked about taking
Some more
Balaji's shirt and a big stick and finding some natural oil from a bark or a tree. Then we could have a torch ready to go, should that be needed. And then we talked about making ourselves look bigger to scare a predator by hanging out our clothing and everything. And then they want to throw objects at it.
Yes. And then our last line of defense is
You carry this with you.
Yeah, it's there. It's there in the room. It's in the room.
In case we leave a campfire unattended and it spreads, we need this.
Sorry, did I miss anything?
No.
No, I think
all right. That's where we ended up.
Do you guys have any questions?
of course, we want to throw stuff at the jaguar as well.
So we're only allowed to use in this room. So we get ourselves up to the highest point where there's something solid behind us that it can't come from behind. And it's about where we place ourselves in the room, because we have to be in this room, so we should go up there with a solid backing. It's like if there's a big rock face behind you. So that's what I meant by that.
They do climb rocks.
They do climb rocks, but they can't. Well, we have a ceiling above us.
And you're actually blocking your own exit.
Yeah, I know, but that's the risk you're taking. Yeah. Because, you know, if you want to sleep, 3 of us could be sleeping and 1 of us could be on guard. Whereas if it has 360 to come and attack you, it's much more difficult.
So what do you guys think about their solution?
I think it's a good solution. They could have done something more with what they thought of, which is, you know, the security app, you know, in the camera, you know, whatever phone that they're using. Through that, when you detect any motion, right, and you use the image, you know, Jaguar, how does a Jaguar look like? So you can have the app, you know, even a smarter app that would recognize it and create sound, right?
I forgot
sound.
the best element. You need to explain this.
Yeah, but it's a fantastic. I mean, you know, we thought alike. Our solution is similar, but
Can
there's
somebody
some.
show me something, please?
Yeah.
we just remove.
Supposing you lose the signal.
Yes. Then what happens?
If you use the signals.
We don't have Wi-Fi.
Okay, can I go to my first solution?
Yeah.
We sacrifice one member of the
Exactly. What is the purpose? Are we supposed to just return it? I mean, what's...
No, we're coming to the purpose and debrief in a bit. I just wanted everybody to see what everybody's thinking.
But you lost signal, you
No, that's an early detection system. We have other systems.
Yeah, we have sound, we have this, we have fire.
No, funnel it into fluid. Whereas
And
approach
horns.
you from one direction. Right? That big thing, put it on edge with a stick underneath it.
Yeah. You're telling me all of this. None of you have shown me anything.
No, it's a great
We showed you the source of fire.
His shirt.
Yes,
Do we have to wear his shirt?
I can be,
sorry,
I can sacrifice that.
We go to this team. Where is your stuff?
I'm wobbling.
Oh.
Let's go to this team quickly.
Yeah, you can put up your phone.
Yeah, please explain how this is working.
Okay.
Yeah, Mukesh, you want to go?
Okay, all right. So what we had done was this is basically So we are inside, and while we could have been there also, but you know, just to simulate the environment, we've used these chairs.
This is by a tree, a very big tree.
Yeah.
So, as big as possible.
So we've got camera with an app that recognizes that, you know, if there's a motion, it can detect the Jaguar, and the moment it detects the Jaguar, it creates a sound that would scare the Jaguar,
Like
but
an
if
elephant.
like an elephant sound. But if that also doesn't happen, then, you know, we've got fire that you know, we could light. So we've got bottles that we've placed. And now
And there's one more. So before this line of parameter, what we did is we got a lot of bottles in this venue which are empty. We're gonna make the parameter with the empty bottles. So the moment the Jaguar steps on it, there will be a sound.
Yeah.
So that's the first level of defense, and you kind of figure out that okay, there is something. Yeah. The more you have, the louder it would be.
Yeah.
Right. Then this is the second level where the camera detects. Let's say it kind of crosses, the camera detects. So we want to kind of make the Jaguar run away. And the best is, let's make a predator sound with which it will run away, or maybe an elephant sound. So that's the next level of defense. The third is the fire.
The ring
It
of
still
fire,
cannot
as you
come
call
in.
it.
Ring of fire.
And we prefer an open space. So by the time the Jaguar gets lost with the sound and all that, we can run away.
Yeah. So because we realized that the ring of fire won't be able to hold itself for very long. So by that time we'll just like climb the tree if that's possible.
The Jaguar flies between like
Yeah, then we're all
Faster than us.
And it's the fastest runner for us.
Fire
but if we are safe, we'll pick up the bottles.
So any questions for this team?
from Tumpane.
Yeah.
Not to be too technical, jaguars only exist in South America, so they don't know what an elephant is. What predator sound would you use in the Americas? Because it's leopards and panthers in the other parts of the world, isn't it?
Maybe I'll simulate a gun sound.
A gun sound. A gun sound is good, yeah.
You know, repeated gun sounds,
yeah,
which will scare them away.
Nice. Gun sounds. Okay. Awesome. Should we go to the last one?
With the water is the perimeter. So we thought the jaguars usually ambush high up, like in the trees and all. So that line of safety is going to be ineffective.
Because it's going to jump right in.
Yeah, it's going to attack.
Yeah, but it depends, right? If you are on a level ground, you may still be able to do that. And that's why we have 3 lines. There is a backup to a backup.
Okay, nice. Let's go to the last one quickly and then we will do a quick round of Come.
Yes,
Come everyone.
So honestly, it was fairly similar in some ways. We didn't get to the whole antenna part. But we thought about, we did talk about a scarecrow. We talked about sacrificing someone. All those sorts of things did come up. But we talked about, again, having lines of defence. So detracting them with light first of all, so whether it's through fires or sort of solar things, because we did all this, we didn't place ourselves in this room as well, so we went quite theoretical straight away, so maybe we missed the brief there a little bit, but light is a line of defence, and then we talked about we're camping, exactly, okay. And then we talked about having the next line of defence being the noise side of things, so we did talk about using the bottles or having some sort of material down that would make a noise, whether it's some sort of like big rat trap or something that it doesn't even need to trap them as such, but it makes a big banging sound that then, because we're trying to think of what we'd have if we were camping as well.
And there's a material which sticks.
The sticky material, that's it.
The foot gets stuck.
Like a rat trap.
Like a rat that's it. And then finally we would have dug like a trench around us with, and of course they'd be able to jump out of it, but slow them down a little bit so then we can be off, or having a net falling down to cover that.
No, we would have some net.
Because it would be covered the trench as well, so I wouldn't know the trench is there.
Ah, okay.
And so it's fallen into it and then the net's fallen down.
And the sound, the sound he's talking about is the gun sound.
That's it, exactly, some banging sound.
Okay, awesome, great. So thanks guys for being so amazingly motivated to do this. But I wanted to quickly do a quick debrief in this circle. So tell me, in the groups as well, what happened first when you got the problem statement?
Visualized.
Started
looking for resources.
You already started looking for resources? Okay, and then what happened? Anything else happened?
We wanted clarity on our assumptions. Is there electricity? Are we in an urban setting, in a jungle setting? What all things we have?
What resources do you have?
And then you figure out
what would we have.
Yeah, and as a team, what were you doing?
Initially discussing ideas.
Initially discussing questions. Brainstorming, yes. What else?
Permission to fail.
Then what else were we
mostly
doing?
talking. One of us did go away to get something though, but the rest of us did stand around sort of talking.
Yeah.
I think in our case the best part was everybody built on what somebody suggested. Right? Mukesh came up with an idea of using the camera to detect whether it's only a jaguar or something else. Right? And then we built on top of that, okay, maybe the camera itself can trigger a sound. You don't need somebody to make that sound. So we just built on whatever somebody gave. I think that was a great thing.
So if I were to summarize the first bit, the one was testing your assumptions a little bit.
Yes.
Brainstorming, putting a lot of ideas out there. I'm guessing, right?
Yes.
You had a lot of ideas out there. Everybody was throwing out ideas because
and identifying resources that align with those ideas.
Yeah, and then did you also bring it down to one idea that you guys wanted to then consolidate, right?
Yeah.
And then what started happening after that? Because I asked you to make stuff, right? You also did.
We were having a good time making noise.
No, but you did.
We did look at, and I asked him to look up his
Google out.
what plant or smell scares etc.
So you were researching.
Yes.
More primary research, understanding how they work, what happens to them. And then when you were putting these solutions together, what else was going on?
Collaboration, teamwork. I mean, we were thinking about what if scenarios.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like what if something fails? What if something fails?
What if?
Yeah.
We had conflict,
Yes.
and we were working through conflict.
Yes.
Because in our group, like Stephen said, we started with sight, smell, sounds, and stuff like that. And then I started getting into making. I started getting stuff because of maybe instinctively I was trying to get resources.
Yeah.
Then that led the group towards finding stuff. So the good thing is we found some stuff.
Yeah.
But what happened was Stephen got a little disengaged. I thought he was researching on Google. Because he was the expert. I mean, he knew, like the Jaguars, pinhole, all of that, right? He knew everything about Jaguars. So I thought, okay, he's topping up on his knowledge here, right? And then I asked him, what are you doing? And he said, no, I'm disengaged. Yeah, you guys are going out making. I thought we were very creative. We're not being out of the box. We're not being kids.
I didn't think we'd explored all the ideas. I thought we
Before
went
we
too
ran.
quick to just
come to
build it
solution.
because they thought, well, we have to get everything together. We have to fund this, and we didn't talk about it enough.
That's a great point. So we started brainstorming. We were thrown into a situation that we were not expecting. So you got like going, you brainstormed, you collaborated, you were trying to experiment, research, think about what things could work, and then you came to some bits of making, not the most that I would have liked to see, but hopefully that will happen when you come to go out to our space. But we wanted more making, but you got to making, but you jumped to certain solutions first without thinking about the problem deeply, maybe?
Yeah, but that's one of the biggest problems that happens in teaching. They don't give learners enough time to think and answer questions. We want things instantaneously. We don't give them enough platform for dialogue and conversation. And I'm just speaking in general. It doesn't happen.
But the way we worked through the conflict was also interesting, right? Because once the conflict was there, that could have gone in different ways. But I think we came together and said, let's try dialing back. And Stephen said, I don't know if we could do that because we were in a zone.
But they proved me wrong. They proved me wrong.
Yeah, and then I mean, I have to work on it internally. So and all of us, no one started thinking about, okay, now I'm going to go back to thinking about first practices. Chandresh was doing the same thing. And then
so you iterated?
No, yeah, we tried different things. He came up with different ideas, and then I think we reframed it as a problem statement. So now let's go back and let's reframe it as, okay, how do we detect the Jaguar first? And how do we have a first?
So you iterated the problem statement as well.
More structure.
Yeah.
We got it more structure.
So you got back some feedback, you came back, you said that
and
maybe
took a different approach, right? And you're right. I mean, we came to some point when we could pick up the threads back, but in a different way.
Did everyone have a perspective when the problem statement was given?
I came back and asked them.
Yeah.
Then my mind went to, because I have done a lot of trekking.
Yeah.
And there was 2-3 times a situation in the forest that they said the mother bear had lost her cub.
Oh. She's on the loose.
Be careful.
Yeah.
What you do. And of course the first thing is that if she comes towards you, you stand still. You don't move. So I was thinking of that, and then we all came like a team. So we constructed, he constructed, and then we constructed.
Nice, but there was some kind of pre-bias or situations where you guys drew from, right? And then you kind of put it together, and that's when it started working from there, right? So great. I mean, I was just doing this to summarize the mindset because honestly, when you get to making, when you get to problem solving, these are the things that also describe the maker mindset, right? Where you're creating, collaborating, exploring, experimenting, iterating, doing all of that, and giving each other space to actually build a solution, right? So that's pretty much, I mean, I didn't want to get into a presentation to talk about what a mindset is, but just doing this small exercise, but this can be kind of harnessed into doing much more, obviously, as a group. But all of us, when we came to that problem, I think the biggest thing about a mindset like that is that you're focused on the problem statement. And the common problem statement or something that you're passionate about really drives you to build solutions. And I think that in itself kind of creates that iterative learning journey that you kind of then explore. And then more skills get added, more people get added, so the solutions hopefully get more creative.
Here it was more than passion.
Yes.
It was survival. Which is a level higher.
But survival has the biggest passion. If you think about COVID-19, I wanted to actually, I don't want to take you through the presentation, but I could just summarize it as well a little bit. In COVID-19, I'll give you an example. What happened was that we started, we were in Mumbai, we were in this massive space, and this kind of problem statement of, kind of being locked down and stuff, we were like, okay, let's just stay back at the asylum and not go back home, because what's the point of going back home and getting bored while we're locked down? We'll be next to our tools and we'll see what happens with it. So it started with that. In March first week in 2020, we kind of locked ourselves down at the asylum. And then we started sort of thinking about these problem statements that were popping up, right? Face shields, healthcare, the things not available and stuff like that. So we were like, okay, let's try and make these face shields, which were on the government's list of number 3 on the procurement list or whatever, because we had a laser cutting machine, 3D printers. We were like, okay, we'll make it. So we started making it, and soon we started iterating, going to doctors, getting some feedback. In 15 days, we were able to make 21 design iterations of the face shield. Then when we gathered a lot of volunteers, police let us be open for that time because we were making these things that everybody wanted. And then soon we realized that we cannot make enough because there was so much at that time that everybody needed. So we open sourced the designs, and we activated more maker communities to actually build these in different locations, because laser cutting machines are available everywhere in the country.
Yes.
So we're like, how do we utilize that? So slowly 42 cities, towns and villages started gathering in. At the end of 49 days, in the first wave of the pandemic, we were able to make 1 million of them.
Wow.
Then what we realized is that maker communities across the world were doing the same stuff. Maker mindset. They were doing exactly the same thing. We thought we were doing something cool. Everybody was doing the same thing. In the first wave of the pandemic, there's a research done by open source medical supplies. There was $201 million worth of open healthcare products that were made by maker communities across 86 countries.
Wow.
Can you believe that? And this was only because the mindset and the culture of sharing and creating and all of this that we're doing, problem solving, came together, and everybody acted in that manner together to create that impact. It was one of the biggest safety nets for healthcare, because healthcare couldn't reach in the form that it needed to reach. In the second wave, we built oxygen concentrators, whatever. This is a story just to reiterate that when you collaborate with each other, when you have this mindset, you're able to solve much larger problems. And this is not a small thing. And our next generation needs to be open to that idea as well. But with that, I'm going to stop. And a little flavor, but we'd love to invite you to Goa and immerse yourself with us.
We locked down in Goa.
We were locked down in Goa as well in 2021. With no power, electricity, making oxygen concentrators.
And a beach.
Not a beach, in a storm. But it was fun. But that's the mindset I think that I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit. But awesome, thank you so much for being part of this, everyone. We had a really great time, Balaji and I think, hosting. Absolutely. Would you like some vote of thanks for the group?
No, I think the vote of thanks to the speakers. We have the speaker felicitation things that we need to give you.
Yes,
I think it hasn't reached us yet.
Yes, we need to give you those.
We will find a way.
But
we'll do a virtual shawl, We will give you the physical certificate later.
I love that.
Mukesh, thank you, my friend.
But will we take a quick picture of all of us as well? No? On the group, we can take a quick picture.
A
photo bhi lenge.
No, but thank you, speakers, really.
Yeah,
jokes
really.
apart, we had a great time.